Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we tear through the stack of information you shared with us and pull out the absolute essential nuggets you need to be brilliantly informed. Today, we are taking on a real philosophical challenge. We're exploring this radical idea that if you truly want mastery, if you want real confidence, you have to deliberately choose the hardest possible path.
That's right. And this deep talk is a little unusual because our source material today is very focused. It's excerpts from a 1981 address by Reverend Sun Myung Moon titled Things That Are Important to You.
Okay.
And it offers this complete worldview where adversity isn't just some temporary hurdle. It's the foundational curriculum for building an exceptional life.
Okay, so let's unpack that immediately. Our mission here is to understand the core argument. Why reject the easy life? Why turn down the path of least resistance for one that's complex and, frankly, overwhelming?
And the source sets up that contrast right away. It paints the easy path as a kind of, spiritual consumerism.
Right.
The simple and easy way of life. He points to standard Western church life cushion seats, weekly tithes, just kind of passive attendance.
Or even whole countries, right? He mentions Great Britain.
He does. And he contrasts all that with what he calls an intense and demanding curriculum.
And that curriculum sounds intensely physical. We're talking about high-effort stuff. Demanding, nonstop fundraising, grueling boat-building sessions.
And even planning for future projects like mining deep in the earth. It is a complete and total rejection of comfort.
So what's the logic there?
It's purely about building capacity. He says a physically healthy person can digest difficult foods, difficult things. But the really profound idea is about mental health.
Okay.
A healthy mind, he argues, can digest anything. It can handle the complexity of anocracy, the rigidity of communism, any competing philosophy you put in front of it.
That's a powerful idea. It suggests the goal isn't just to be correct, but to develop a mind so robust it can take in and understand competing worldviews without, being broken by them.
Exactly. It's about building the capacity for total intellectual mastery. And that mastery is built through real-world suffering.
So the experiences you get through hardship, they're the raw materials.
They're the raw materials that build that mental capacity. You're not just consuming an ideology. You're forging your own truth through painful experience.
That idea of an internal structure, it leads us right into the ideology he presents. The source can call it Godism, and also unificationism.
Right, and unificationism is more than a label. It's the goal. The function. It's defined as uniting things. And like you said, it starts internally.
Within yourself.
Yes. Getting your five senses, your limbs, all into harmony. Wrestling your own mind, body, and emotions into alignment.
And that's the key nugget, I think. This isn't just about world peace or something abstract. It starts with your own internal discipline. If you can't manage the complexity in yourself, how can you possibly manage the world's?
And he connects that internal struggle directly to the global stage. He uses it to frame the fundamental difference between the free democratic world and the communist world.
And what is that difference, according to the source?
It's stark. The free world, he says, believes everything starts from the invisible world, the mind or God. The communist world insists that matter is the essence of everything.
Okay, so that split immediately frames this whole pursuit of ultimate value. If God, or whatever you want to call it, is invisible, then it can't possibly be easy to find.
By definition, no. It has to be at the limit, the highest, the deepest, the widest possible point.
And he uses some great analogies for this.
He does. He uses these perfect geographic analogies. If God is on a mountain, he's not just sitting on the foothills.
No.
He'd be on the absolute peak of the highest mountain. And if there's a single tree on that peak, he'd be at the very top of that tree.
So the journey isn't just a climb, it's this monumental expedition to the single most difficult, inconvenient spot you could imagine.
Or the opposite. If ultimate value is hidden in the earth, it's not just beneath the surface. He says it would be in a cave hundreds of miles beneath the earth.
Just think of the effort required for that, the technology, the sheer will.
And the last one, the desert. If God chose a desert, it would be the largest one, the Sahara. And he'd hide right in the treacherous, inaccessible metal.
So why? Why the extremity? Why make it so extraordinarily difficult?
The spiritual logic here is that it's in our nature to strive for the utmost, and in the process of reaching that highest or deepest point, you have to overcome everything in between.
You become a conqueror.
You become a conqueror. God positions himself in this extraordinary way so that only people willing to follow an extraordinary path can find him. The reward is earned through that monumental effort.
It's a ruthless logic, but I see it. The journey itself becomes the ultimate training ground.
That's the perfect bridge, because this spiritual logic leads directly into the central analogy of the source, the car maker versus the passenger.
Oh, okay.
If you want to create something precious, should the path be easy or overwhelming? The philosophy says it has to be overwhelming.
And the analogy uses an expensive car, a Lincoln. Everyone wants the result, right? This is a smooth ride. But the source points out that the most expensive car requires the most care and effort to make.
Right. All the testing, the investment, the detail. The passenger, the consumer, just enjoys it. They value the ease, not the engineering.
And this is where the identity shift happens. The person who created the car, the mechanic, is contrasted with the clean, well-dressed passenger. The creator is the dirty, oily laborer.
I can picture it perfectly. The passenger in the back seat might even look down on the greasy mechanic and think, you don't belong here.
But then the car breaks down.
And suddenly the owner is helpless. They desperately need that greasy mechanic who actually understands how the thing was built.
It's about confidence then. The mechanic has this unbreakable confidence. If the car breaks, he can fix it. If a car doesn't even exist, he can create one.
Yes. It's the confidence that comes from self-creation, which is so much more durable than the fleeting confidence of just buying something.
The difference between knowing how to solve a problem and only knowing how to call for help.
Exactly. And the source says Reverend Moon, who was apparently called Dumb Reverend Moon early on, explicitly chose that difficult road to become that capable, dirty mechanic.
The source then uses this really powerful, maybe even harsh example to drive the point home. It talks about the dignity of labor versus consumption. It asks, who built the great monuments of America, like the Empire State Building?
Right, or the World Trade Center. The source attributes their construction to dirty, sweaty black men. The essential point isn't really historical. It's about the descendants.
What happens to them?
What happens if those who inherit this great legacy only want to go disco dancing and have a good time? Choose the easy path of consumption.
The nation will decline.
It will inevitably decline, regardless of a glorious past. The philosophy says you have to do something greater and bigger than your ancestors.
So you can't live off past competence. You have to forge your own through new hardships.
Exactly. The inheritance is the ambition, not the wealth. Otherwise, you just become the helpless passenger, waiting for a disciplined mechanic from a more ambitious culture to come fix things for you.
This commitment to difficulty, it helps explain why the source acknowledges he was called crazy since he was a kid, a poor kid from Korea talking about global salvation.
Right, but this chosen path of craziness has a pragmatic outcome. It liberates followers from destructive habits.
Things like drugs, promiscuous behavior.
Yes, the philosophy sees the easy life as fostering vice. So to break those habits, you need an intensely difficult, all-consuming commitment. The hardship itself is the detox.
Let's get specific, though. The mobile fundraising teams, or MFT, we mentioned it, but people need to understand the context. These members were basically selling things on the street, driving constantly.
And the source details the tribulation. Driving all day and night, people yelling at them, spitting, throwing things.
Sometimes even being shot at. I mean, that is an extreme level of sustained hostility.
It is. And that's precisely where the core mindset comes in. How do you manage that? Well, the source says the best attitude is to stop seeing yourself as a salesperson or a victim. You go as a researcher.
A researcher? How do you maintain a scientific mindset when someone's spitting on you?
You study the phenomena. You view the people who hate you, the incredible negativity you're receiving, as the material you are studying.
Wow.
The source argues this suffering is the tuition you pay for world leadership. You endure it not for yourself, not to get rich, but for the sake of others, for the world. You're learning how to conquer the world's opposition by facing it head on.
It completely reframes the whole exercise. It's not about the money, it's about the psychological resilience you gain, the understanding of human nature.
And that experience guarantees competence. When we go back to the builder analogy, the foreman, the leader, has to constantly discipline and criticize to forge top-notch workers.
The pressure is the point.
The pressure is the point. It's designed to create workers so competent that, as the source says, no one is able to compete. And that suffering creates a record. They call it the MFT record, a documented history of your sacrifice.
Which eventually leads to a certificate.
That certificate is the symbol of earned mastery. It grants you the right to teach, to lead, to criticize. You haven't just read a book on fundraising. You survived hell to learn how people really operate.
And this spirit, this unbeatable effort, it applies to everything. The source mentions boat making, The instruction was to build the best boat for the cheapest price through sacrificial giving.
Which means no one can compete. Your labor was driven by principle, not profit. And he extends this to nation building. He says there's no room for communism if the discipline can build the best society.
He mentions CRP teams, the student groups.
Yes, who stage these confrontational counter-demonstrations. The source notes that their discipline caused communist elements to retreat. That power, it says, requires accepting this kind of training.
You fight fire with a more intense, more disciplined fire. You win by outsuffering and outworking everyone.
And if we connect this to the big picture, the message is intense. It's don't look for the easy way out. The ultimate plan is to push people down to the dungeon before they're 30.
To become that dirty, capable mechanic.
Exactly. By surviving that metaphorical hell, they can emerge as saints by 30. While the world is looking for the easy direction, for the next good time, they are building a competence that just transcends all of that.
So to wrap this up, what does this all mean? We've looked at a radical philosophy that intentionally chooses the most difficult path. Climbing the highest mountain, becoming the oily mechanic.
Right.
And the hardship isn't for its own sake, but to guarantee the highest level of competence and self-confidence. It's about creating a person who can fix anything or build anything, even if it doesn't exist yet.
And for you, the listener, this source presents a really uncompromising framework for how to view your time and effort. It rejects shortcuts, it rejects immediate fun, it chooses extreme deferred gratification and self-creation.
The lesson seems to be universal.
I think so. If something is truly the most precious thing, whether that's God or a nation or just your own competence, then its pursuit requires the most difficult, extraordinary effort.
Here's a final provocative thought for you to chew on then. The source suggests that if you can accomplish something world-changing with just your bare hands and minimal resources, by being that oily mechanic who paid the highest price, what could you achieve once you do have enough tools and money? It raises the question, is the true measure of ambition not just the size of the goal itself, but the deliberate, extraordinary difficulty of the route you choose to achieve it?